Welcome back to the channel and to a video today where we're going to be looking at the top 5 worst cheap houses that I have seen for sale in England. Now, it's been a year since we've been on YouTube, 1 whole year as the Wandering Turnip, and if you've been following me, you'll have known that I've wandered many a boarded up street, seen many different derelict, abandoned towns, places that I had no idea existed in the United Kingdom. Places like this, where they've got fake doors and windows put on the buildings to make them look like they're lived in when they're actually not. So the weather outside at the moment is so bad that I can't go out and continue with any of my current video projects. So I thought, why not look back over the previous year and find the 5 cheapest/worst houses that I have been to view that were for sale in 2023. So let's do that. I know you all love the cheap house videos. So here we go. Coming in at number 5, we have got the original. It's Burnley. So this was the first property that I ever went to view as a Wandering Turnip, and it was on sale for £12,000. Now it's funny because I remember when I went to view this, I thought, damn, I'm never going to find a house that's in worse condition than this. How wrong I was. I also had no idea that you lot would enjoy watching videos of cheap houses as much as I enjoy viewing them, so that was also a bonus. You can see here there's a big chunk of the floor missing, there's a hole in the wall here. Now that's a ventilation system that's been put in, and I didn't realise when I was filming this, but someone said in the comments this house was a grow house used for growing cannabis. I ended up viewing loads of houses that have been used for that purpose the past year. Coming upstairs, just mould all over the walls, bits of the floorboards missing, just real grotty up here. Now the bathroom wasn't actually too bad. I've seen way worse on my property tours. The window was put through here, but it was downstairs that got this house onto the list and number 5 of the worst houses. And it was that garden there. When the estate agent opened the door and just looked out onto that garden there, I just could not believe it. Just a sea of rubbish appearing before me. And I know you can just get a skip, but I'm talking about viewing houses and the impression you get when you're walking around them. Just another look inside here as well. Looks like back to brick there, and just a view from the garden outside. So what did you think of that place? House number 5 in Burnley, Lancashire. And on to house number 4 we've got London. Now this technically isn't a house, it's a flat, but also I don't think you can technically call it a flat because of the size of it, but it was in there and it was on for £350,000 for this flat, for this tiny little box flat. I was down in London making a video on London's cheapest flats, and I couldn't believe it when I came across this one. This was definitely the most shocking, just because of the size of it. So this was your living room. As you can see, it's not in great shape at all. Just look at the state of the walls over here. It's also hard because this footage actually makes the room look bigger than it was. It was so small, and when you try imagine getting all your living space into there, oh, it's crazy. All these windows would need replacing as well. They're all cracked and single glazed. So this flat was in Bayswater, which is right next to Notting Hill in London. So right next to that really wealthy, expensive place to live. And that's why this tiny little box flat has got that price tag of £350,000. So this was your bedroom, and again, so small. I don't know how you'd even fit a double bed in here. So I remember when I was walking around here, the estate agent was really trying to sell it to me, you know, with that estate agent charm that they've got, where they just pick little details and go, oh, have you seen this? Look at this. Oh, that's amazing. And then I was in the bathroom just like, come on, mate, look at this. £350,000 for this place. It's a joke. So that's what's given this property position number 4 on the list. Now, I know it's not a house, but let's face it, it's barely even a flat, is it? Could you imagine living here, and could you imagine spending £350,000 for this place? This list as well could have probably been based just off how bad the properties smelt. Now, looking at cheap houses, you come across some foul smells, and this kitchen was one of them. Just damp everywhere, mold everywhere. Oh, it's such an awful smell. It always blows my mind as well, because where I live up north, I'm not sure if it's the same where you live, but £350,000 will get you a nice house, a big house. So it blows my mind walking around these small places just thinking what you could get elsewhere. But yeah, this was number 4. And coming in at number 3 on the list, we have got Middlesboro. Now, this house was one of those where when I got there and the estate agent let me in, I couldn't believe they were letting people go and have a look round. Now, it was on for £10,000, and when I walked in, the smell was crazy, the amount of rubbish was crazy, there was glass everywhere, And the person showing me round said, oh, I've not been to this place yet. I've not seen inside it. So they had no idea how bad it was. How can you let someone walk in and just have a look round, not knowing what's in there? Just look at this place. Now, each room I got to just got progressively worse and worse. And there was stuff on the floor in this house which should have meant nobody should have been walking around there. And they should have not let people go in at all. But yeah, a completely trashed house. So dangerous. Clear it had to be on my list of houses looking round. And let's go and have a look in the kitchen as well, where it just got worse and worse as well. Look at the state of this place. Cabinets ripped off, things everywhere. There was also a giant hole in the ceiling. Just look at this. I didn't actually notice this until I looked up. But look at all this here. It felt like it was coming right down in a few different places. That's another common thing I find with these cheap houses. Many holes in many ceilings. And the bathroom here, which was trashed on the end of the kitchen. Now, even if it was a really, really nice house, I'd hate to have a bathroom on the end of the kitchen. That's just me, though. A bit of black mould on the walls for you here, another common feature with cheap houses. And as I was walking up the stairs, look at this. Look what was lying there. A syringe, a hypodermic needle just on the floor. Mind-blowing that they were letting people walk around this house when there were things like that just laying there. Into a room upstairs, which again, glass everywhere, totally trashed, and again, the smell up here was really starting to hit me. I'm actually no good with bad smells at all. The slightest thing can set me off and make me feel really queasy, so it's funny that I chose to do cheap property tours on this channel, but they are interesting. Over there, the other side of the room, that's just dead bugs lying everywhere. Ugh. Someone's had a fight with the door here, and here is me, really struggling and feeling like I might be sick at any moment, but there was just one more room to investigate. I did that and managed to get out alive. So this house, just stuff everywhere, and my theory is that there were some tenants in here who got evicted. The person who owned the house was like, I've had enough of this, and just put it straight up for sale. Now, there's one thing to have all this stuff around here, but as I was looking around, I kept seeing kids' clothes and kids' toys. So just imagine a kid living amongst all this mess. That's so sad. So sad. I remember when I was looking around this house, the next door neighbour was like poking her head round the door, and the estate agent said, oh, do you want to come in and have a look round? And she went, oh, no, I'm not going in there. No way. So yeah, this is house number 3 in Middlesboro. And if you're thinking there's no way that any houses could get worse than what we've seen, you'd be very wrong. So that leads us onto the penultimate house, house number 2, and it is in Doncaster. So this house is the perfect example of why you should always go and view a property before buying it, especially at auction. Now, it was on for £10,000, and the pictures didn't actually look that bad, so I was really intrigued as to why it had that low price point. And coming into the house, I was pleasantly surprised. This room seemed alright, the walls were in an alright shape, the carpet was really messy, but I mean, it wasn't too bad. And then as I slowly moved through the house, I started to realise why. And you are about to see something incredible. Awful, but incredible. So coming into the kitchen, and this is where it started to get really bad. That smell of damp and mould started to hit me, and you can see here the walls are in really, really bad shape. But this wasn't even the worst part. I mean, this kitchen is really bad, so messy, not in a good way. But coming through to this room here, just look at this. This house is literally growing. I remember I said to the estate agent, who had not been in this house before either, it was the first time he was seeing it, I said, look mate, look what's going on here. And he just looked out the window and went, at least you've got a nice garden. And I was like, mate, you've got a lawn on the wall. Who needs a garden when you've got this inside? And going into the actual bathroom, there was water all over the floor. Again, that green mold on the floor just growing everywhere. You could not escape the smell in this place. It was absolutely foul. Now, the one good thing about this house is, because it's growing so quickly, you don't know what size it'll be next year, so you might be able to sell it for more. A house that is literally growing. Now, it's this kind of thing that I'm talking about with buying houses at auction without seeing them. You've put in a bid. On the pictures, they don't show this wall. They don't show this part of the house that looks like this. They just show the rooms that are actually in all right shape. Imagine buying this place, walking in and finding this. Oh, God. There's your other garden outside. And then going back through this house, I was so intrigued to see what else we would find. And heading upstairs, I started to notice all this stuff on the floor like sawdust, and I couldn't figure out what that was. But into the first room up here, quite a decent sized room, but just full of rubbish, stuff everywhere. And then into this room, the second bizarre room in this house, and it was just full of hay and sawdust. And it seems like they just had some animals living in this room. They have their own room, just stuff on the floor for them. They can run about, do what they want to do. I mean, it's a decent sized room if you're an animal. There was a big hole in the wall here as well. Unbelievable, this house. It had the unique aroma of mould mixed with damp and rabbit shit. I don't know if you can imagine what that smells like, but it's not good. One more room up here, which was just full of stuff again, totally trashed, and another look downstairs at what really gives this house its position of number 2, this awful, awful bathroom and downstairs area that was just growing. Absolutely shocking. But yeah, that leads us on to house number 1, the worst cheap house I have seen in the previous year of looking at properties. And it is in, are you ready for it? Middlesboro. We're back in Middlesboro. I'm sure you've got some lovely areas, but you also have some terrible houses, Middlesboro. This house was surrounded by all this barbed wire fencing. It felt really weird walking around it, a bit spooky, and I was super intrigued to see what it looked like on the inside. You can see here that part of the roof there looks a little bit burnt, and I was wondering how bad it would look from the inside. Now, it was on for £10,000 again. So let's go in and have a look around at the house that is the number 1 spot on my list. You know it's going to be good, or bad, or both. But here we go, inside the worst house I have seen for sale. So this house did say on the listing that it had suffered fire damage, but I just wasn't ready for how much fire damage. And also, just look at the state of this place. Again, smell really bad, but there were bigger obstacles to try and get around this house. And the fact that it was just completely full of stuff meant it was hard to move around properly. But you can just see here that it is totally trashed, stuff everywhere. Looking up to the ceiling here, there is a giant hole. Again, I cannot believe that they actually let me inside this house to have a look round. The person showing me around had not been inside. They had no idea what state it was in. And just look at that as well. Another giant hole in the ceiling there, exposing the beams. Really, really bad. I managed to climb my way around this room and make it outside a little bit, where I found what I think was the cause of the fire. And it's another grow house. That equipment there will have been used for growing weed, and at some point that's caught fire, damaged the house, and then it's been put up for sale. You can see up there as well, look at the burn marks on that door. It's really affected the upstairs area. Back in the house as well, I could hear this gushing water sound, so I went to investigate what that was. So yeah, burst boiler just spurting out water there, and then the rest of the trashed kitchen as well. Now, I did tell the estate agent, I said, look, the boiler's spurting out water, you need to sort that out. But they didn't seem too interested in exploring the house at all. Then going upstairs as well, you can just see that fire damage appearing as you climb higher and higher. And here it is. This is why this house is number 1 on my list of the worst cheap houses I have ever viewed in England. Just look at that. The roof's missing. The fire damage is so bad in here. Again, I cannot believe they were letting people walk around. Just look at that. It is totally trashed. You would need to pretty much entirely rebuild this house. And also, because there is no roof, the water was just consistently falling in, so everywhere you walked just felt like you were walking on a wet sponge. It did not feel safe at all. And when I was looking at this listing before I viewed it, now it did say there was fire damage, and there were some pictures, and it did show the house in a bad way, but it did not show it as bad as it actually is. And you can just imagine that if you were someone bidding on houses without going to view them, you might have seen it and thought, oh, I'll just take a risk. But yeah, not worth any amount of money, this house at all. A little look around the rest of the house as well, and in comparison, it actually looks alright, but I mean, anything would look alright compared to the rest of the house, wouldn't it? So much stuff in here, chucked in, mould all over the walls, the ceiling's crumbling. Yeah, really not good, but it gives it that position of number 1 on definitely the worst house that I have ever seen whilst viewing property. So yeah, I said at the start with that house in Burnley, oh, I don't think they'll get any worse than this. And look, they have definitely got a lot worse, but maybe this is the worst that I'll ever see. It would be hard to find somewhere in a worse condition than this, but who knows, maybe we will stumble across something. We are going to keep doing those cheap house videos, so keep an eye out for more of them as well. You can just see the rain as well, just falling in. So bad. And interestingly enough, this house sold at auction for £36,000. I followed the whole process. Someone bought it for £36,000, but then someone commented recently saying, look, it's back on auction. It is back on auction again for £10,000. So whoever bought it just thought, oh no, I'm not having that. And you can see here from these photos, they're kind of blurred, they look bad, but they've put these new photos up that do not show how bad it actually is. So again, is someone else going to fall into that trap of buying it without actually knowing the full damage. I always forget to do this, but if you like my content, subscribe to keep up to date, and if you like the video, hit like, it all really helps. And I'm trying to avoid getting stuck to one niche on YouTube, so I love my cheap houses, but we do loads more. I've got this Death of the High Street series at the moment. I also look at abandoned pubs. I love my old industrial mill chimneys and dry stone walls as well. There's loads of stuff out there, so check it out. Thank you.